My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. This is my little courtyard where I grow a whole range of different plants. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about perennials and how they really are jewelry in the garden. Now, in any garden, you're going to have a mix of trees and conifers and shrubs, ground cover. But perennials, I think, make the perfect subject for any new gardener or experienced gardener to pretty much have guaranteed success. There's a wide range of plants. They come in different foliage, different heights, different colors. Very, very available and also very affordable. They're tough and hardy, and for me, the most endearing thing about them is that every year they put out copious amounts of fresh new growth. Let's start off with the iconic peony. Peony is a perennial, dies down in the winter, and every spring you get new growth. And in June, these beautiful powder pink flowers, absolutely exquisite. But this is what goes through the winter. We get a clump that's been pruned after the first frost, and in springtime it'll start to put out new shoots. This needs the minimum of care. It'll need a little bit of staking because those flowers can be quite heavy. But in terms of bang for your buck, you can't go wrong. This is another perennial called polygonatum. I think this is one of my favorites. You get these little type of snake head stems that start to open up in early spring, and it doesn't take long before they open completely, and you get this nice dense architectural foliage with arching stems and pendulous white flowers. I think that is just beautiful. Now, with a plant like perennials, the group of plants that are perennials, they are very good to propagate from. You dig up a clump and you can move it from your friend's garden and put it in yours, or you can dig it up and put it in pots and grow 10 plants from one clump. I was given permission to go into this garden and remove a few clumps of this polygonatum so that I can put them in my own yard. And I really want to impress upon you how easy this is. If you've got neighbors with spare plants, perennials are a great plant to look out for and add them to give you more fireworks and jewelry in the garden. The planting pit is maybe 5 or 6 inches deep, and the rule of thumb is that if you dig it up at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, you better be planting it. And of course that goes for Saturdays or Sundays as well. But if you're digging it out of the ground and it was growing, you must plant it immediately. If you buy it in a pot, you've got probably a little bit longer of a window in which to get it in the ground. And please take this on board as an idea. Don't feel that you have to have a hose on full power providing watering for your plant. I go through with a hose almost turned off and I water multiple times. The next plant is this spectacular Alstroemeria. It's called the Peruvian Lily, and I bought this from Plant Delights. It's a wonderful plant. Now in springtime it starts to put out fresh new shoots, as all perennials will do. This is a good time to make the point that contractors can get into your garden in springtime, add their layers of mulch and damage those shoots, so be very mindful of fresh shoots on new perennials. Now I want to relocate this plant, so I dug it up to show you the size of the root ball that will stay in place and go through the winter months in the ground. I've got a plant that is an interloper. It's called Lysomachia. It's not a weed, but I don't want it when I put this in its new location. So I want to carefully remove that offending root mass, get all the roots, knowing that when I replant this in the ground, it'll just be my Alstroemeria and nothing else. And this is the foliage you get, beautiful, luxurious foliage with these very elegant, multicolored flowers. You've got the petals, you've got the calyx, lots of markings on there are very beautiful. This next plant is a hardy sweet pea. It's the everlasting sweet pea. It's the white color, which I like so much. I was unable to buy this as a plant, so I bought some seed, and I've had it for 5 years, and it is absolutely been faultless. It will start to put out new shoots in early spring, and whenever I see the new shoots, I go in there and I remove the layer of leaves that I put on top of the crown to help it go through the winter. So after the first frost, it gets a prune, add a few leaves, then in springtime I remove those leaves, And that sunlight can now get into the plant and help ripen the wood and get the plant growing nicely. And this is what you end up with. 4 and 5 foot long stems of beautiful, naturally climbing foliage. And the flowers are truly beautiful, crisp, white, and plentiful. Now this is a plant called Disporum, and I came across this plant about 10 years ago. It has similar fresh shoots as we've seen earlier, so be very careful, don't knock them or bump them. As these shoots grow, they're a burgundy colour. And it doesn't take long before the leaves start to open out and you get a very architectural, lush growth. When I planted this one, a root fragment fell off, so I stuck it in a pot, thinking, well, I'll just keep that growing, and it's putting out shoots and is doing very well. And what it means is that I've now got a plant that I can trade with somebody else for another plant. So once you start to get into perennials, it won't be long before people will like what you've got and will willingly swap plants for you to increase your collection, and they also increase their collection. And this plant's got a really nice root ball, and that will go to a new home very soon. Now let's take this one step further. We've got the perennials that I've shown you before, things like the peony and the everlasting sweet pea, that's a vine. This is a ground cover perennial called a juga. And a juga is a great beginner plant, very tough, comes in different colors, covers the ground, suppresses weeds, and every winter it can look a little bit beaten up, and look a little bit sad. But I'm continually surprised at how resilient it is. And even when we're coming out of winter into spring, a little quiet corner that warms up quickly will start to put out flowers, as you see here. Now, if you are interested in perennials and you start to have success with them, it won't be long before you start to think, well, let's propagate. Let me make more plants from this one plant. And a juga is a wonderful example of how to divide that plant to make more cuttings. And in this case, more rooted cuttings, because it is so vigorous and able to run across the ground. It puts out little white roots that when you take a cutting, it'll have roots already growing on it. And here you go. Look at that. We've got a nice little rooted cutting that we can easily put into a pot. And you give that 6 weeks and it'll root through, and you've got a nice robust plant. So please go out there, revisit perennials. They're a remarkable group, lots of colours, very affordable, very available, and they really are jewellery in the garden. Happy spring, go and dig a hole and plant something.